Are there any flights from Carrickfinn to Estonia? Thank you, Joe. Looking forward, the future, a sort of frightening place, really. I thought, how will the hiring fare in 2020? If the history of the past 50 years has taught us anything, is that we could never have imagined the speed or the profundity of the change that has beset the Republic or indeed the world. Making any prediction about Ireland beyond 2016 is a kind of a dangerous activity. What we do know is that the interweb and its related economies now uses 10% of the world's total electricity, the same amount that lit up the entire planet in 1985. And that this electricity transports more data in any one day than the entire population of Ireland created between 1750 and 1950. So at least now we have some evidence to go on. We've now reached the point where we actually don't need to remember anything. We don't have to, because the information is stored somewhere. Such is the pace of change that we now measure our lives by the technologies we inhabit. A friend recently told me that he asked a young person what age they were, and the reply was, "I am 4 iPhones old." We don't even have a language to explain the future. So I've decided to maybe use through a series of new terms that might just shed some light. Firstly, education. I think it'll be underpinned by 2 new concepts, and the first one is smupidity, which is a sort of a mixture of smart and stupid. Young people will have an average IQ of 103, but it'll feel like 97, because while they've never been smarter as individuals, they'll feel stupider. And this is because they're continually aware of all the stuff on Google that they don't know or haven't read about. So that's very confusing for them. So to combat this, the teachers will have to make young people, they teach Stuart, which is sort of stupid and smart. The essence of Stuartivity is that young people get comfortable knowing the things that they don't really need to know any longer, and they use the brain cells worrying about the really important things. Wonder what they are. So the curriculum to which this new concept is must be really altered dramatically. Education and training must re-enter the broader planes of culture and the possibilities there for the full development of human capacities and abilities, a sort of working combination of philosophy, creativity, technology and art. What kind of workplace will these young people enter, and what will they expect? The word I think which probably most defines it is fertility. Fertility is the increasingly futile and archaic notion that anything less than a 40-hour week with 3% unemployment is a social failure. Beyond 2016, such a notion will seem as cruel as hiring out children at the Strabane Fair in the era of Patrick McGill. The reasons for this shift are not beyond 2016, however, they're with us right now. In 1954, the mathematician John von Neumann spoke of an ever-accelerating progress of technology and changes in the mode of life, which give the appearance of approaching some essential singularity in the history of the race of human affairs. And what he meant was that the moment technology and human intelligence become one, so with Google now testing driverless cars in LA, and the advent of the Internet of Things, or indeed the Internet of Everything, where a home thermostat called Nest can accumulate the household data to the point where it automatically programs the home heating and even defrosts the fridge, available now in any Apple store for €199. The singularity is here. So what about work? Larry Page, one of the creators of Google, said only last week, the idea that anyone should slavishly work so that they do something inefficiently, so that they can keep their job, that just doesn't make sense to me. This can't be the right answer. And he highlights that by 2020, 47% of all American jobs will be carried out by machines, a figure agreed by the Oxford Internet Institute. So, where will the wealth be produced? I think maybe at both ends of the labour spectrum, with what the Google people called the smart creatives at one end, and the former Economic Research Council CEO Douglas McWilliams calls the hipster makers of the flat white economy after the caffeine drink. At the other hand, and the best example of that is a small urban area in London called Shoreditch. Well, the rest of us, what's going to happen to us? Well, we'll engage with community projects and individual craft activities being paid for by the wealth that's accumulated by the smart creatives. The choice then is stark. Accept that work must change or end up as blank-collar workers in what might be termed a state of detritus, waiting for all of our jobs to be shipped to China or the equivalent in 2020. The new work dispensation will place a greater emphasis on culture, both as leisure and economic imperative. The Ireland of the future will recognise the centrality of culture, not as a utopian aspiration, but as an essential aspect of continuing economic and cultural global reputation. My hope, my belief, is that culture will no longer have to beg for funding, but will be supported through the exchequer as an industrial imperative. Post-2016, a person's basic social entitlements will be broadened as the skills based on the 3 Rs evolve into the 4 Cs: culture, creativity, computing, and citizenship. And how will this new social, cultural and economic regime be governed? Well, certainly not under the present system, which, as the previous speaker pointed out, is clearly broken. But maybe not for you or me, but certainly for anyone born after 1989, and it was interesting that that was the year of the Berlin Wall fall as well. Why 1989? Because simply anyone born after that has lived constantly in the grip of my next term, which is crisis, or crisis, being bored with global crisis. This is not the same as apathy. This is a fiercely held disillusionment with party politics grounded in 3 aspects: the interweb, the continual economic meltdown, and the constancy of political global crisis. Young people no longer believe the good lies. What we need to give them, and what they would thank us for, are the bad truths. These young people find their groupings through communities of interest, not communities of geography or ethnicity, but communities which they go on at 11:30 at night on the interweb. How will they vote? Well, again, voting now it's archaic to go into a cubicle and mark an X. It's not one bit far-fetched, actually, because the previous speaker mentioned it, that given the data storage now, you can find on Facebook and Google people who actually share your views. You could find 51% of the people, and I mean exactly like you in Ireland. So you could all get together, form a political party, you'd win any election, and you could only question, so the only question post-election would be who would define the 51%, since no policies or manifestos will be necessary to get elected. This is the future of voting. It is essentially like dating yourself. And I think if we don't do it, it's going to happen anyway. Democracy is going to reinvent itself. Growing up in Donegal, watching Top of the Pops on TV on a Thursday night, the fights with the siblings about who would run out with the dishcloth and chase the crows off the aerial. Same time, same programme, same hour. Now we can have anything we want, whenever we want it, and wherever we want it. In terms of, we choose our own media palette and our own media landscape. That puts a huge pressure on the future of public service media. But the other thing is the relationship between our behaviour and our health and well-being. There's a a writer called Emmett, who wrote this book called 10 Billion, actually. And he says we have two choices because we drink. Let's take an example of this. It's actually quite terrifying. That bell is quite terrifying. That it takes 4 litres of water to create 1 litre that we drink out of a plastic bottle that's not recyclable. So we either have two choices: consume less or teach our children how to use a gun. So I suppose, do I think that the future is bleak? Not completely, but my 23-year-old son certainly is a lot bleaker about it than I am. We manage the technology. It's not alien, because aliens won't have a part in our future, our immediate future anyway. So I think, to finish, I will look to the poet for some solace. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that further shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracles and cures and healing wells. Thank you.